The government that brought back knights and dames wants to tell us about the future. So, although community television has provided valuable training for countless TV professionals and produced several successful entertainers, it seems there's just no room on the broadcast spectrum for community television. We need that room for important...
Let me tell you what's happened. The community television has had free access to some spectrum, some television free-to-air spectrum, of the same kind that the ABC and SBS and the commercials use, and they've had that for some time. Their licence was running out at the end of this year.
We need that room for important cultural institutions like the TV shopping network, and not just TVSN. I mean, let's say you need to get your hands on the NutriBullet. If you miss the NutriBullet infomercial on 4Me, you've got nowhere to go but Spree TV. And if you miss that, that's why we have Fresh Ideas. But that might not be the best time for you, which is why we need Extra. And if you did catch it but missed some of the subtle character development, that's why we have Extra 2. And you need to remember, these channels only play that NutriBullet promo several times a day. But if you think all those stations sound like shit, wait until you find out some of the digital spectrum is taken up by something called Channel 9. Dreadful.
It's always been understood that they weren't going to be there forever, by the way. No one's ever suggested this was going to be permanent. It was always a temporary thing. And what we've said is we'll extend it for another year, but they really should be looking to broadcast over the internet.
And it's sort of really insulting that the Communications Minister is suggesting that this is an act of benevolence on his part for community television. We've really tried to communicate with the Minister that we understand that audiences are moving online, and that's evident that the internet is integrating into all broadcasting, in fact, all forms of media.
That is a much better platform for them. They have tiny audiences. I mean, their average prime time audience nationally for all of these community TV stations in most of the capital cities is 6,000. It's 2,000 in Sydney and Melbourne and 1,000 in Brisbane. So they're very, very small audiences. They would reach a wider audience over the net.
And we're willing to adapt to that future, but to ask us to do it in the timeframes he's proposing is just, well, it's ludicrous. He's not asking 7, 9 and 10 or ABC or SBS to make that sort of move. Give us a chance to integrate the internet into our service offering, and then perhaps when it's considered time for, let's say, the ABC and SBS to move 100% across to the internet, we would go too. I'd like to see us, the Minister, come back to the table and more meaningfully discuss what options there might be available.
The sector is clear that there are options that would enable community TV to continue broadcasting while also ensuring that valuable spectrum can be managed efficiently for all Australians. Many suspect that this is being driven by the department out of a long-held desire to wipe out community TV, but the Minister has signed up to it. At the same time that this government is breaking its election promise by cutting funding to the ABC and SBS, meaning less local content, less diversity and fewer Australian stories on our TVs, Minister Turnbull is planning to wipe out the future of community TV. I say to Minister Turnbull, this will be political pain for no appreciable gain. This is a test as to whether life under your leadership, Minister Turnbull, would be more enlightened or just more of the same.
Like SBS, for example, which has a spare channel that they are not using, like what might come of the introduction of MPEG-4, which we understand will double the number of channels available on the existing spectrum, and consider community television as adding value in terms of diversity and participation, and a breeding ground for talent and local Australian content.
This is a test as to whether life under your leadership, Minister Turnbull, would be more enlightened or just more of the same. Here is a chance to kill community TV or to save it. And to the public, I say that if you watch community TV or you know people who do, or if you recognise how important community TV is for communities across Melbourne and Australia, now is the time to take action. A public campaign involving many well-known faces was put on pause while the sector lobbied the government. Well, it's time to rev it up again. Like so much of the Abbott government's brutal agenda, these cuts can be stopped and we know because we've done it before. Last year, the future of community radio was under threat, but the community came together, raised its voice and fended off the cuts. In the context of a brutal budget, the Minister did the right thing by community radio, and now it's time for him to do the right thing by community TV.
Evelyn, good morning. You're our final caller for Mr Turnbull today.
Good morning, Mr Turnbull.
Good morning, Evelyn.
I was listening to you before about the Bris 31 channel being able to be got on the net when it's taken off the air.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're discriminating against us elderly people. I'm 77. I do not have a computer, don't intend to get a computer, and there's thousands of elderly people that do not have computers. So you're discriminating against us. We will not be able to get Bris 31.
Okay,
well,
Evelyn, thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks, Evelyn. But you don't actually. All you would need a device, a television that is capable of being connected to the internet. And really, most new televisions are able to do that.
But people would have to go out and buy a new television to do that.
Cutting funding for multicultural broadcasting, cutting funding for the ABC and the SBS, cutting funding for Channel 31 and community broadcasting is not the way to go. It's wrong, and it's certainly not something that Labor could ever back.
Now, at times we hear a comparison made with the shift BBC Three has made. Now, I would argue that the BBC Three channel, a shift to the internet, cannot be compared to CTV in this country on size, scale and how it's been undertaken. The British experience, in fact, demonstrates the opposite. That this country is moving towards community television is what is actually happening in Britain, with a rollout of 28 local television licences on free-to-air spectrum with largely the same aims as we see here. So I really would urge that the Minister ensures that he works with community television so it survives, has a healthy future, and that would be a richer media mix for the whole country.
As the community TV sector has been saying loudly and clearly, the shift to the internet is already underway, and it's a shift that will take time for community and commercial operators alike. So on what basis should the community sector access to spectrum be pushed off a cliff? Like many West Australians, I enjoy West TV, and I've been fortunate enough to participate in some of its local programming, including current affairs shows like Undercurrent. The community TV sector is an important part of diversity and local character in Australia's media, and an important incubator of ideas and talent. Silence in community TV is yet another sad example of this government's nation unbuilding.
I want to acknowledge my friend and colleague Dee Ryle, the member for Mitcham, who's here with me tonight. And I want to make it clear the great importance of Channel 31, its links to the community, the thousands of volunteers who contribute to the work that's done, the range of television shows that are represented, whether it be multicultural or called broadcasting, or the fishing show, Vasali, all of those shows that are institutions and a part of Melbourne. They help stitch our society together, they help glue our society together, and I, for one, am a great supporter. And I can tell you for sure the coalition government understands the importance of Channel 31. We understand the importance in protecting our multiculturalism, protecting the diversity that's a big strength of Victorian community.